I got a bad feeling about this.
Nah, it's not that good.
No? Han Solo?
Welcome to the Hardheaded podcast. I am one of your hosts, Chet Sears, and I've got Troy, three-shot Trussell, and Matt Amos by my side. We're glad you joined us today on this wonderful day where we're going to talk about what is on Matt's mind. We will also cover the top 3 ways to politely say no, which it's going to be pretty interesting. Saying no. I think I actually had say yes to more things that we covered in a previous podcast. So now we're going to have ways to say no. And then Troy's going to close us out with a good word. Matt, what's on your mind?
So what is on my mind this week is a few weeks ago, I went down to Orlando, Florida, and spent 5 days at a Wounded Warrior Outdoors event, the first one that we had of the year. And incredible event with, maybe 85 people there, something like that.
I didn't know it was that big.
Yeah, it's a fairly large event, and it's the only fundraiser that we do for the organization. And the things that took place there are actually incredible. What?
Interruption number one.
One of the friends of WWO put on the raffle this year, the web raffle.
Yes.
Okay, so it wasn't an official fundraiser because I bought the ticket.
So with that fundraiser, he actually presented a check.
Okay.
So his name is Brahm. He's also a warrior, and he set up a web raffle and was able to raise $20,000 and presented a check for $20,000 to WWO at the event. Yeah, phenomenal.
That's awesome.
And we had 7 teams with 5 shooters per team, so you're looking at 35 people. And then you've got volunteers running the stations.
Yeah.
I ended up running the long range. I was not a competitor this year. When you've won so many times.
Yeah, here we go.
He brought his sandbags with him.
Yeah, they move you up to coach, right? So, but it was kind of funny because for those who don't know, in the warrior community, we give each other a hard time all the time. There's never a time when we're not talking smack or giving each other grief over anything. And I'm probably the number one guy that's normally given the most grief to everybody. But as a coach this year, instead of a competitor, I wasn't able to do that as much. So I tried to do as much pre-gaming as I possibly could.
No trash talking while you're coaching somebody through something. But
right. But beforehand, I was landing on pretty thick. And so I was a competitor last year, and we had a guy named Joel. Joel's an Army vet that was I believe it was a rocket attack, and he was he's burnt over 60% of his body. I think it may be even more. He's a below knee amputee, and he's completely blind. And so, with everything that kid's been through, I give him all the credit in the world for what he has to deal with every day, but I'm still going to talk smack. So
Joel's awesome, dude. I've had the chance to spend some time with him.
So yeah, Joel does come in, and he comes to People's Orthotics and Prosthetics to get his work done. And but we met through Wounded Warrior Outdoors. And last year, when we do the pistol range, so we have there are different events that we have. So we've got a stagecoach competition where you ride on the front or back of a Ranger. We've got jump seats on the front, and then we have the safari seats on the back. And you go down a course, and you've got targets on both sides, and you have to engage targets on both sides. Typically, they're little plastic targets with a little plastic diamond on the bottom, and we're shooting 5.56 to try to hit those targets as that buggy's going up and down and bouncing. It's probably one of the most difficult courses. And this year, due to the ammo shortage, we use 22s. There's a pistol course where you've got, just basic steel dueling trees on both sides, and then a rack of 6 plates in the middle. There's a BB gun course where you're shooting the old Daisy Red Riders.
Oh yeah.
And we've got a crossbow and hatchet throwing. So let's see, crossbow, hatchet throwing, and then you've got automatic. Basically, and I don't know what they were shooting this year, but last year it was like an automatic AR, so a fully auto AR. And then you've got a dinner plate, those paper plates, and you're trying to get as many rounds on that paper plate as you possibly can for score. Because for anybody that's not running an automatic weapon, as you stand there, it tends to want to ride up. And so being able to control that weapon and doing short bursts helps out a lot. We've got basically a 5-stand course for clays that come out, and you get 10 shots at that on competition day. And then we had the long range, which is where I was at this year. I'm shooting the Barber Creek long range hunting rifles. And so last year, found out that Joel got to bring his own pistol. And for anybody who is a pistol shooter, when you're shooting a pistol that's yours, that it's so much better than shooting one that is just there.
As an example, Troy.
Oh gosh. Yeah, here we go.
The other day we were out with one of his sons, Noah, and I brought out the old single 6 Ruger 22. And it's just a gun that I know, right? And so I was popping, it's just 6 rounds or whatever. I'm like, hey, Troy, give it a shot. And he's like, yeah. So we're shooting it like Sprite can or something. Like, missed it high. Like, yeah, aim lower. Missed it high.
I kept aiming lower. I was like a foot under this thing and still missed it high.
Yeah, his bullets were hitting, like, it's the tightest grouping you could ever imagine. But every time he was aiming even lower, but he was hitting in the same spot. He was like, I don't know how. Well, it's because I'm familiar with the gun and I know. Yeah. So perfect example. Troy demonstrated that.
Perfect. So you know what I'm talking about, right?
Exactly.
Like, so hey, I know it's on because he was able to hit something with it, but I can't. Yeah.
So Joel's gun, because he is blind, we have Steve Peoples is what we
his eyes,
what we call his seeing eye human. Mm-hmm. And we actually had shirts made up this year. It said "Seeing Eye Human" on the front, and then on the back of Steve's shirt it says "Don't pet me, I'm working." And then on Joel's shirt on the front it said +1, and then on the back it said "If lost, return to," and then had a picture of Steve's face on the back of the shirt. But anyway, so I filed a formal complaint that because Joel's gun.
Is this a letter that you wrote?
No, yeah. I basically threw the gauntlet down at the competition. I was like, look. I'm here shooting these crappy pistols, and Joel gets to shoot this firearm that he's used to with a laser.
And you only complained because
I
lost.
I didn't. Well,
last year
I didn't lose pistol, but overall my team lost, and that was one of the deciding factors. One of the other deciding factors was one of my teammates on the long range shot the 400-yard target 4 times when he was supposed to be aiming at the 800-yard target, and he's screwed me 2 years in a row because. The year before that, we actually tied for first, and he was the guy that flipped the coin, and then he flipped it to the side that I didn't pick and ultimately lost it for me. That guy is Randy Lewis, by the way.
Randy, we're coming
Great job, Randy.
But so the Randy, I give him lots of grief too, but he's our auctioneer, and he does an incredible job doing the auction at the end of the night and raising a ton of money for.
No, you're just demonstrating how you give everybody a hard
But that's
time.
how I give everybody grief. Right. So anyway, back to my formal complaint. So I filed this complaint that Joel's shooting this fancy pistol, and here I am shooting this piece of junk with a trigger that I swear is just a brick. I mean, there's no trying to slowly squeeze it back. It just clunk, and then your round goes wherever it goes. And so Ron, the founder of WWO, he's kind of the ringmaster of this whole ordeal. And so I go to him and I was like, I'm filing a formal complaint that Joel gets to shoot this pistol and I'm stuck with this piece of junk. And so he never makes any changes the year of the event, but he will take all complaints into consideration for the formulation of next year's event. So this year I'm a instructor. I'm not an actual competitor. But on the practice day, we go out and we do things. We practice the way we're normally going to practice. He allowed the team captains, which are wounded warriors, and then we have folks come in to support the event. So we have paid shooters that are on those teams, and then their team captain is a wounded warrior. So all these team captains had the ability to bring their own pistol and shoot this year. Well, Ron, in his way, he always changes things, and he has a very twisted mind. And so this year, on the night before competition day, we go over the rules for competition day. And he goes, just so you all know, we had a warrior file a complaint last year that Joel got to bring his pistol.
And everybody in the room went, man.
They didn't even have to, they looked over, they knew who it was. I'm not afraid of it. And, but he did say, it was Matt Amos that filed this complaint. And it was that Joel got to bring his pistol and all the other warriors had to shoot with the regular pistols.
So Joel, the blind guy, had an unfair advantage at shooting.
Well, he did. It's an unfair advantage. So just so you know, in the pistol station, it always comes back to the pistol station because I'm very proficient with the pistol. And the first year that we did this, I filed another complaint that was from a buddy of mine, JD. Now, JD's got one arm, so he's only got his left hand. And when we were shooting the bonus targets, we had to shoot the bonus targets with our offhand, and I filed a complaint that, JD only has an offhand, and so technically that's his dominant hand, and that is a problem. And that he had an unfair advantage because he had one arm, right? So I always throw these little things in there, and then I always end up getting screwed in the end. But I always make things harder on myself than they need to be. That's just how I roll.
Yeah.
Well, on the night of the competition, Ron was going over the rules, and he went over what he said, and then he goes, so after Matt had filed his complaint, Joel filed a counter complaint that said, well, I'm blind. And so Ron said, I took Joel's complaint into consideration, and I found it to also be valid. And so he goes, for competition day, all warriors will be shooting blind. So we had all the team leaders had to put on these blindfolds that basically you can't see anything out of. You have no idea what's going on. And of course I'm not shooting, so I'm just laughing all the way to the bank, right? I'm like, you guys suck, And of course they were giving me a hard time, because I'm the guy that instigated it, and I'm not even shooting this year. But so with all the warriors shooting blind and Joel shooting blind, it was a phenomenal time. And
every event they shot blind or just pistol?
Nope, every event they had to shoot blind. So that was Ron's little knife in the back on that one, because my only complaint was for pistol. So I did actually file a counter complaint that said my complaint was about pistol, not the other events.
We're gonna have to get Broughton to draw up your documentation next year.
I'm gonna need him to draw this up for me.
Yeah. That's hilarious.
I'm going to need legal representation, I do believe, at the next event.
So when is your number one complaining trophy arrive for most complaints?
Yeah,
it's
I may buy that one for him.
So it's in all the belt buckles that I've won at these events.
He may actually win that one.
But no, so an incredibly good week. And huge thanks to all the volunteers that came out and supported this event. All the donors that showed up to support warriors, and huge shout out to Steve Peoples for being Joel's seeing eye human during this entire event, because Joel did the previous year take top shooter at the event. And for a blind guy to be able to be the top shooter is when all things considered, is absolutely phenomenal for him to be able to do that. And so I give him all that credit. However, had I been a blind shooter this year,
whatever.
I do believe that I probably could have beaten Joel, maybe. But so
we'll never know.
Joel killed more ducks than I did this year. I was talking to him about some of the hunts he was on this year.
Nice.
So being completely blind, he shot, I believe, 7 quail out of the air this year.
Yeah.
How does he do that being blind?
So basically, Steve will stand behind him and kind of look down the sights of the gun. Joel's he's got the buttstock in his shoulder, and he's manipulating the trigger, but Steve's moving the gun. And then when Steve says fire, Joel fires. And so it's a team effort that really makes this happen. And it was really cool because on the long range, we have a phone scope that we attach to the Barber Creek rifles. If you don't know what a phone scope is, it basically attaches to your scope and hooks to your phone and then gives you an image of your crosshairs in the phone. And so you can manipulate the gun to where you need to go and then tell the shooter to shoot. So it's got your minutes left and right for wind. And then, of course, your elevation is on the elevation.
So you got to put a lot of faith in your teammate this to getting you lined up, and then you have to be your trigger pull. I mean, and really shooting. You know more about this than I do, Matt. But I mean, it all comes down to trigger pull on.
It's trigger manipulation, and then with long range shooting, it's being able to call the wind.
Yeah.
And for
what's the wind's phone number?
I'll
give it a call.
I'm gonna give it a call. So it was extremely cool to be able to see. And now I did file, I guess we can call this a counter complaint, that Joel Seeing Eye Human had more practice than the other Seeing Eye Humans. And so I tried to get it to where Steve had to be every warrior Seeing Eye Human, but that didn't work out. So at least
worn him out.
At least on the long range, I was able to help some of the warriors get on target with the phone scope and get them shooting. And it really does. The people that could manipulate that trigger the best were the better shooters. But I can't talk about those Barber Creek rifles enough because they're freaking awesome.
I'd like to shoot yours sometime.
Super accurate. But thanks to them for coming down and supporting that event. And with, we're talking a team of 35 shooters. We raised just over $370,000 in 2 days for Wounded War Outdoors, which is our basically our budget for the entire year, which will allow us to take 140 warriors on trips this year.
Yeah.
So pretty amazing event to be a part of. And I know I mentioned it in a previous podcast about
our top 3 charitable organizations. Yeah.
Yep. And the girl that beat me in speed, she was at the classic with her dad, and she beat me there. But that's where that came from.
Yeah.
Nice.
So working towards it. And her dad actually took a top long range shooter, the guy that we went up and hunted buffalo with.
Yeah. Doesn't surprise me.
He's such a good guy, and to see him win, and then his daughter having a championship of her own was pretty awesome. So really good week. Again, really grateful to the people that were there, the donors that participated in that. And the amount of money that was raised for a good cause. And I do have some video that we can add to this of Steve actually with Joel on the long range shooting it and hitting a target at 800 yards, which is just
awesome. Yeah,
pretty freaking cool.
All right, and it's just neat that whole organization is just fantastic, and to see a lot of the social media posts coming after this week. The Warriors. Just being around people that went through the same stuff that they did, and you guys are doing stuff that anybody, you had quail hunting and shooting, and it's just a great time to be around each other and challenge each other and bust each other's chops, and nobody's treating anybody with kid gloves. And
oh yeah, well, and it was kind of funny because the quail hunt on the first day, I kind of sat back and just let because everything always turns into a service related competition. Mm-hmm. And there were 2 Army guys on my buggy and me and another Marine. And so then we turned it into a competition of Army versus Marine, right? Well, here I'm hearing stories of Joel shooting these birds out of the air were his first birds. And then the Marine that I was hunting with, his first bird was shot out of a tree because he missed so many. It was like this bird just went up and lit in the tree, and then he boom. And I was like,
you can do that.
Bro, you suck. Joel's blind and he's already gotten birds out of the air, man. But we ended up winning that day, and then we came back the next day and won, and then that's when I got the bird with the old Judge, the 410 pistol. But really good time, and that's what's been on my mind is just really what it comes down to is just being grateful for the great Americans out there that support the troops and support our nation's wounded veterans for the sacrifices that they've made, and then me being able to be a small part of that, helping out to provide for others what has been provided for me, and really provided the catalyst for my recovery, which ultimately led me to Steve.
Yeah.
So
awesome.
Really thankful for that organization.
Cool. Top 3. We'll move. Oh, let's take a break first. I think it'd be a great idea to take a break.
Yeah, let's do it.
Troy, I noticed you're scratching your facial hair that you have there.
Yeah.
Looks like you need some Admiral's Pennant beard oil.
That's right.
I think you could definitely benefit from it.
Will it make my hair grow longer and not be scalp as itchy?
It will stop the irritation. One of the reasons it does, it has all natural oils, no substitutes.
I can get down with that.
There's nothing fake in there. It's
Nothing
all
fake.
real.
It's real. Come on, man.
Come on, man.
It's real. You know, the thing.
For real.
I will grow it out.
You should, and I recommend Admiral's Pennant. 1815 is my favorite.
Where can I get some?
www.admiralspennant.com. Tell them Hardheaded sent you.
I will do that.
Hey, you also get a handwritten note
From the owner,
from the owner.
Matt Amos.
In every
He
single
cares
package.
about everyone who buys his products. And we're back. Thank you to that wonderful sponsor. Oh, that was pretty good.
The only sponsor.
Top 3 ways to politely say no. I'll lead this one off, then we'll go to Troy, then we'll come back around to Matt.
Get
It's
situated.
the only time I've come in last.
On your own, you've tied for last a couple times. So, top 3 ways to politely say no. First and foremost,
Wait, is this number 3 or your number
I'm
1?
going to categorize. I'm going to give it. Hey, be clear. Number 1, the last thing that you want is in trying to be polite is for the person that you're telling no to not know that you said no. Right? You feel good about it. I let them down so easy, and that wasn't painful. But they walk away with, oh, maybe it's a yes. They're just going to get back with me later. So be very clear and definitive where they're not thinking that there's going to be a yes coming later. So, number 1, if it's something that you really want to do, you know, you be very honest with that. Yeah, man, that sounds really good, but I can't because, right? You give it, you know, I'm just not going to be able to make it that weekend, or I can't because, you know, I have plans. I can't because there's a conflict with such and such. But yeah, man, thanks for asking, but I just can't do that. For whatever reason that's there, but they know, like, I am not able to do this because of this, but yeah, thank you so much. If it is something that you're not grateful for, don't be fake about it. And that's number 2. You could repeat what they requested and then just say, no, you know, oh, you'd like to tell me about my vehicle's car warranty expiring? You know, no, thank you. I'm not interested. So you could be clear in communicating that you know what they're asking, because a lot of times people that are pushy and trying to get you to do something, if you're like, I don't think so, or no thanks, they're like, but wait, do you understand what I'm saying? You know, or oh, there's really this good. No, if you repeat what they offered and then say no, then there's no question about them being able to try to figure out that you didn't understand, and I'm going to try harder. So being clear about it is being polite. So that clarity around it, that's actually being nice and polite, even if it's an answer that they don't want to hear. And then the third one, and I had a buddy of mine, Lance Bernard, that used this all the time. When the ask was on the way, like, hey, you know, I've been thinking about, you know, next weekend, and you're like, oh, what, you know, what is it? Like, getting this real excited. This is going to be awesome. Wait, did you say next weekend? Oh, man. Oh,
Got this
I'm
thing.
not going to be able to do that. Man. Oh, that sounded like so much fun. He was being totally fake the whole time.
Right.
Yeah, but I said don't be fake. But that one was always hilarious because the people would be like, that dude really wanted to be here for this. And he cracked me up.
So in your number 3,
It was against my number 1.
it was
and 2.
against your number 1, but you went with it anyway.
Yeah, I did.
You know what?
Yeah, tell me, man.
I think you should always start with number 3 and work your way to number 1.
You know, Troy, thank you for saying that I should start on my number 3 and work my way to number 1, but I'm just not going to do that.
Well, I was going to get really excited and then say, no. I was going to have you ask me to watch Star Wars with you and then give you the...
Dude, Star Wars?
Always wanted to see that,
Man, I've never had a chance to watch that. Just don't tell me it's going to be, what day? What day did you? Oh, man.
Dang it, I got my underwater basket weaving class that day.
That's why your GPA was so high.
It was underwater basket weaving.
All right. So I guess I'm next.
You're next.
3 polite ways to say no.
Yes.
No. No, thank you.
No, ma'am, or no, sir.
No, that was my number 1. You ruined it. No, ma'am, or no, sir.
Wow, you, sir, were incredibly prepared.
Well, I mean, it goes back to his number. What number was that? Be clear. If you say no, no, ma'am, no, sir, or
But how many times you just outright tell somebody no?
A lot, actually.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Like, hey, Troy, oh, man, I love your wedding videos. And, I've got something coming up in a couple weeks, and I'd really love to do it. At least you to take this, and it'd be great. There's going to be thousands of people there, but I'm going to need you to, cut your prices down for me.
No, I can't do it. Simple as that.
Yeah,
Huh?
You would really just say that? No, you don't do that.
Troy,
Yes.
I've got an incredible opportunity for you to film a video for a incredible beard oil company. All right. Now, with this beard oil company, we don't have money for advertising, so I'm just going to need you. But with
spend it all on podcast sponsorships.
But with the I can't advertise. But with the amount of followers that we have, I think you could really use this to build your portfolio.
When's the shoot?
When are you free?
Never.
Oh, that sounds like a lot of fun.
But oh man,
All days that end in Y.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's the one thing that I would imagine that probably.
No, I guess to say no in a business setting, I usually type out a nice email because that's usually how it transpires, but I'll type out a nice email on how, this is my pricing and this is what we do and this is how we have to price it and go into all that stuff and say it politely. And I normally don't say no. I just say, not going to do it for that price, but if you still want to do it, we'll do it at this price.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. So that's not really saying no. It's saying raise your standards and we'll come do the work for you.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
So where do we stand on this whole commercial?
He's not doing it. It was pretty clear to me.
I didn't get that.
Yeah. Don't take no for an answer.
Sales 101.
there you go.
So are you done?
That was pretty quick. Yeah.
That was pretty quick.
No, ma'am.
Yes, sir. I'm done.
All right. Very well. So on to mine. And actually, when we were talking about this earlier, that's what I told Chet. No. Because I've gotten better at it over the years, just being able to come out and just plain say no. But
Well, I used to be that guy that never said no, like for work and for, it will build your portfolio. Oh, I'm in. Maybe this would be the one job that'll get me that bigger job. And I finally had to I'm spinning my wheels here and had to say no.
Yep.
Start learning how to say no to a lot of people. So
I've gotten a lot better at it, just saying no. But in an effort to keep it more polite rather than just saying no, is, hey, I appreciate you thinking of me. No.
I appreciate you thinking of me.
Or I appreciate the offer. No, thank you. Just something simple.
yeah.
Yeah.
Number 2.
So being thankful.
Yeah.
But-
Hey, I really appreciate that. Like
That means a lot.
hey, let's go. You want to go fly up to wherever and go do this? Like, man, I appreciate you thinking of me, but no thanks. And then number 2 is my schedule is kind of hectic right now. So it leaves the opportunity in the future. And again, this will go for something that I would like to do, but can't because there's a conflict because my schedule
Can't right now.
Yeah, and I get this all the time, and because my schedule is hectic, I'm pretty much booked out a month, at a minimum most times, and then I've got things that I do throughout the year. Somebody says, "Well, I thought you told me, you needed a month notice," and I was like, "Yeah, but I just,
That doesn't mean everything's free after a month,
right? Like I just, like I get the schedule for WWO, whenever, when season's open or Kentucky changes their dates for turkey season. And it's like, okay, well now I'm out at this time. And then like, well, I thought you said you're going to be free. It's like, well, no, because like I said before, my first priority is to family and when we're outdoors. So I can't do that right now. My schedule's kind of hectic.
Yeah.
But if you know your dates for next year, let me know. And so, I mean, it's like now my schedule's getting like a year out, but I guess it's a good problem to have. And then my third way was one that
File a protest.
No, I don't file a
A
protest.
formal complaint.
That's the way that's the way I do a lot of things is file a complaint. But is somebody asked me and said, let me circle back to you on that. I found that it works.
This is a White House press secretary says that all the time.
It works for her. Why can't it work for me? And then
I'll
just
circle back to you on
never,
that.
hey, and then just never circle back.
Yeah.
Because
there's a compilation of like in her first 2 or 3 weeks in her job said like, I'll circle back to you on that 20, 30 times, like 10 times a press conference. Like, hey, Troy, when are you and the family coming over for dinner? Yeah, let me circle back to you on that. Like,
oh, I don't.
I'm getting out of this moment where you asked me the question and I'm never coming back to it.
I'm not really sure that I can speak on that right now. Let me circle back to you on that.
Yeah, I'll circle back to you on that. Let's circle back.
So that's my 3 ways to politely say
I'll circle
no.
back to you on that. Circle back. We're gonna circle.
Circle back, girl.
Circle back.
Troy, why don't you bring us a good word?
I will. And it's a quote. It's a quote from Albert Einstein.
E equals
MC squared. I don't even know what that means. Wouldn't it like energy or something?
Matt has the better GPA. Hey, why don't you circle back to us?
I'll circle back to you on that. Energy something squared.
So Albert said we can. That's good stuff. We cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created them. So when you create your problems, you need to change your thinking from the thinking you had when you created that problem to a different mindset, a different way of thinking to solve that problem. So if you have a problem and you can't figure it out and you can't solve it, change your mindset and look at it a different way.
Get outside the box.
So
That's right.
yeah, that's cliche, but I like that because there's I think the more difficult part of that though is that people don't want to admit they were wrong.
True.
Like, so in order for you to change the way you think about a certain thing, you have to admit the way that I was thinking about this that got me into this issue, it's wrong. I was wrong. And I think
I think more people should just feel free to admit when they're wrong.
yeah, that'd be really good.
It would be really good, wouldn't it? I don't know when I've been wrong, but
Other people should admit.
other people should.
Well, a lot of times changing your way of thinking helps, setting up, having good people around you to help you and tell you.
We had a conversation with a patient today that was kind of eye opening for me, and very much like that. Like, I continue to do this even though I know it wasn't good for me. Like I knew this was not good for me. And I knew if I kept going down this path, bad things are going to happen to me physically. But I still did it. And it's human nature. Like, and that was insightful, and it's kind of a very open statement to make. But yeah, I think it's really hard for us to say, yeah, because I made all these decisions, I'm in this predicament. I was wrong. I have to make different decisions. So many times we continue to make those same decisions, hoping that we're going to get a different result. That Einstein guy is pretty smart.
Pretty smart guy.
That's the definition of insanity.
Keep doing the same thing, expecting a different result.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's kind of the same thing you're saying there. You cannot think the same way and solve the problem.
Yeah, well, and I think a lot of people go down that road because they're like, I've invested so much time in this path of being wrong that I'm going to continue to do it until I'm right.
Or, I agree, or I did all this right and it was somebody else's fault why it turned out wrong for me. So I'm not changing anything. Everybody else is going to have to change for this to be right for me.
Yep.
And not accepting the world as it is. And,
accepting your failures and
the fact that if you want something to change, it's probably going to have to be you, not somebody else.
It's very difficult to change somebody else, but you can always change yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is a little easier. It's not always easy, but it's easier than trying to change somebody else.
Yeah.
Man, that's deep.
Deep.
That was
thoughts.
pretty smart.
Not by Jack Handy, but by Albert Einstein.
You know what he's talking about. Deep Thoughts by Jack Handy.
I do. Saturday Night Live.
There you go.
Yeah.
Good job.
Yeah.
Good job.
I canceled them too.
They canceled us.
Oh, they did.
Yeah. I canceled them after the early 90s, probably.
That's another way to say no.
Turn it off.
Oh, yeah.
Shut her down. See you later. All right. Well,
circle back.
We're going to have to circle back to closing this podcast episode out as soon as we get some music. Oh. Thank you for joining us on this week's episode of Hardheaded. We really appreciate your interactions. If there's a better way to say no, let us know in the comments section. If you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts, please leave us a rating. That helps us a lot. Like, subscribe. We really appreciate you. Thanks for listening.
Join the conversation.
Thank you for thinking of me.
N-O.
No.
Yes.